Rama Rama Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Nitai Gaur Nataraj Nitai Gaur Nataraj Nitai Gaur Nataraj Nitai Gaur Nataraj Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Okay. Nice gathering this evening. How many of you are attending this bi-weekly Bhagavad Gita class that he's giving? A few of you. Okay. My understanding is you got as far as chapter 9. So I'm going to speak a little bit in the beginning here of something starting from chapter 10, a sneak preview of what comes next. Srimad Bhagavatam is compared to the graduate study of the undergraduate stage of study of Krishna. Undergraduate, graduate. So what's in the graduate study is also in the undergraduate. It's just more elaborate and more refined and more application, and there's the principles don't change in graduate school. 2 plus 2 is still 4. But then you do other things besides math. And we're going to be hearing a nice teaching that comes from Srimad Bhagavad Gita. The purpose of Bhagavad Gita, the purpose of all the Vedas. The beginning part is going to be asking some questions. So this is the introduction to chapter 10 of Bhagavad Gita. Is it possible? How is it possible? If so, well, how? What's the method to understand what existed before we existed? Because logic says, since it existed before you existed, you can't know. Is it possible to know? One of our stalwart previous acharyas, there she is, one of the 6 Goswamis. This young girl learned something about the 6 Goswamis at her home. So one of them is Jiva. The 6 Goswamis, let's back up. who are the 6 Goswamis anyway? We've been speaking before this evening on some of the previous acharyas or great teachers in our line of disciplic succession, and their descendants, or they're receiving the recipients of the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So who is Lord Chaitanya? And an answer to who is Lord Chaitanya is in part to understand who is Krishna. So if I was to ask the question, does anybody here need an introduction to who is Krishna? You say, no, we know who is Krishna. So, because Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita, he's the supreme personality of Godhead. Well, what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita is, chapter 10, after explaining many things, he says, me, nobody knows. Nobody knows the great rishis, is chapter 10, Bhagavad Gita. The great rishis, the demigods, the most learned persons in the universe, they don't know me because I existed before they existed. So they can't know me. Then by direct sense perception, these are 3 methods. Jiva Goswami is a teacher in our disciplic line of Lord Chaitanya, who taught the method of knowing things. In Sanskrit, I'm going to pramana. Pramana means evidence, or means of knowing something. The English word is epistemology. This fancy word, epistemology. What does that mean? The means of knowing something. So if you want to know what existed before you existed, there is a means of knowing, but it's not through, there's the 3 main, in all of the world, of all history of the world, direct sense perception, seeing is believing, they say. But there are things that we can't see. For example, no one has seen an electron. No one has seen an atom. No one has seen the subparticles within an atom. But we know that they exist. How do we know that they exist? By symptoms. We can see the symptoms. For example, stick your fingers in an electric socket. You find out what electricity is by direct experience. But you've not seen an electron. So by seeing is a limited instrument or method of knowing, a different means of proving something by seeing, perceiving directly with our senses. Then reason. Here's another reason. I can hear a sound of a fan in the room, probably the air conditioning. I can infer, because it's really hot outside and it's very comfortable inside, it's probably the fan of the air conditioner. That's reasoning. It's a reasonable statement to make. Likely it's true. But it could be something else or something else or something else. Knowing things by reason is fallible. Logicians may be very good at proving their philosophy, but there may be a better logician and a better logician and a better logician, and it's fallible because reason, to err is human, so one's reasoning may be fallible. They can't know. So that's 2 things that are limited. Pratyaksha, direct sense perception. Anumana, reason and logic. What's the third? The third is shabda. Shabda means sound. And that sound, like here's one. In 8th grade science, I remember the whole discussion about light, and from a scientific point of view, is light a wave or is light a particle? Now, some of you may be, engineers, and you know about all of that. But I remember 8th grade science, and they have experiments that can show that prove by direct perception it's a particle. Another, it's a wave. Rather than going with this one, that one, they have experiments that demonstrate scientifically in a laboratory, again and again, 100 times. It's a wave, it's a particle. And then they're in this school and that school, and they disagree. No, it's a wave. No, it's a particle. There's not consensus. So, what's an authority that's not just I'm a scholar or I'm a scientist and I've proven my point? The answer is if the source of the sound is from an infallible source, that kind of shabda is perfect. So the Sanskrit is apurusheya shabda, pramana. It's nice. When shabda or sound is coming from an infallible source. No, man is fallible, to err is human. But what's beyond human? That's a good question. And that beyond human source is whoever, apurusheya shabda pramana. It's the means of knowing things through transcendental sound. And that's what the Vedas are. It's the sound. The Vedas are sound vibrations, according to the Vedas. They're emanations from Narayana. He's the apurusheya shabda source, and you hear from the Vedas, and whatever it is, it's infallible, because the source is infallible. The Vedas is perfect knowledge. So through the Vedas we can know, through Shabda, or through Scripture, or Shastra, we can know what existed before we exist. We can know what exists while we're existing too. And what's beyond that range of our time experience. So in the 10th chapter, Coming Attractions for those of you in the Bhagavad Gita study, here is a well-known verse. It's on the screen, and we can say it together if you like. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samandita. So the first two lines. Aham, Krishna speaking, it's first person singular, I, impersonal. Sarvasya. Sarvasya means all. And commentary says matter and spirit, both. Not just spirit, not just matter, matter and spirit. Sarvasya. Prabhava. Prabhava means the source of generation. Prabhava. Everything comes from me. Matak sarvam pravartate. I'm the source of everything. Everything comes from me. Or everything is situated within me. Pravartate. Iti matva, thus knowing. Bhajante mam. Those persons who are those who know. Bhajante. Bhajante. The word, the dhatu for devotional service or bhakti is bhaj. Not the English word budge, but B-H-A-J, bhaj, means service. Bhajante mam. Buddha means intelligence. Bhava, the ecstasy. Samanvita, with all their hearts. So here's the translation. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So what existed before we existed is Aham. It's Krishna. And he existed, and he's the source of all the material worlds. And before the material worlds, or eternally existing, the spiritual worlds, and they all emanate from Him. Very, very unlimitedly powerful source of all things. So, forwards and backwards. I'm the source, everything comes from me. Kind of like checkmate. I'm the source, everything comes from me. That's it. And those who are wise, they buddha, they know this perfectly well. Their intelligence, buddhi, buddha, they have this superior spiritual intelligence. They engage in devotional service. So that's what knowledge that's in its mature stage, knowledge in its transcendental state, the knowledge of the source of everything, or that which existed before we existed. That's what somebody does, if they know that. Now, that's the outcome of knowing, and how does one know? The answer is one knows through the Vedas. Now here's the later chapter of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, a very nice verse. The first part I didn't put on the screen. Sarva shachaham riddhi sanivishto matak smitir jnanam apovanamcha. It's the first part. Krishna says he's riddhi. I'm situated in the heart of every living being. Sarva shachaham riddhi sanivishto matak smitir jnanam. Remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness come from me. Chapter 15, text 15. Then the second half. Vedaishcha sairvair aham eva vedyo. Vedaishcha sairvair aham eva vedyo. The purpose of the Vedas is to know me. Or, by the Vedas I am to be known. The Vedas... I had an opportunity at our Potomac Temple in near Washington, D.C. They gave the Sunday feast class in Potomac, and after class, this family came forward, and the teenage son wanted to ask me a question. He didn't exactly want to ask me a question. He wanted to zap me. He was in a confrontational mood. And that's how the conversation started. Mom and Dad said, our son would like to ask you a question. And he didn't start with asking me a question. He started with a statement, I'm Catholic. And I would expect to squirm or make some noise or look uncomfortable, and none of that. Isn't it fantastic? Fantastic. Then his questions were several. Did you grow up doing what you're doing today? Did you grow up like that? No, I was like you. You're in a Catholic family. I was in a Protestant family, and I wasn't doing this when I was a young boy. I went to Sunday school like you probably go to Sunday school. From when you were younger and now you're a teenager, you probably still go to Sunday school. Then the next question, why are you doing this instead of what you did in Sunday school? What made you make that change? He wanted to put me in the hot seat and have me squirm or something. So I said, well, I was always a curious young boy. I wanted to, I had that kind of a personality, kind of a mind. I'd like to understand things. And in Sunday school, I learned that there's heaven. So I asked Mom and Dad, what's heaven? What's it like there? What do people do? They didn't say they didn't know, but they didn't know. So then I went and asked the priest, and he didn't know either. He didn't say I don't know, but he didn't answer the question. What's it like there? And then in church, we had the system. I don't know what you do in the Catholic Church, but we had a system. There's a they call it hymnal, the book of hymns. And then, during the worship service, there's hymn, this one, that one, the other one, and there's a choir over here. The choir sings, and then the congregation responds to the choir. And the words are in the hymnal. And, standard words in the hymnal, Lord God Almighty, merciful and kind. So I wanted to know what are some of the characteristics of his mercy? What are some of the characteristics of his kindness? And I got some kind of an answer, but it was kind of fair to partly cloudy. And I wanted to know. And when I read Bhagavad Gita, I got answers to all those questions and more. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Because it gave answers to questions. He's looking at me like he I don't know, he was angry. Yeah, maybe it's just his personality. Maybe he's angry at everybody, but I represented something he was worthy of his anger. Then the next question he asked was, on what basis do you accept all of what you've heard? Which is it's a valid question. And I said faith, just like, you have faith in the Bible. So how do you know? God said, Genesis of the Old Testament. God said, let there be light, and there was light. God created heaven and earth, and so it was, and it was good. There's statements like that in Genesis. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. You have some faith. Now, what does that mean? That's where, I started studying Bhagavad Gita and the Vedas, and it was like, yeah, that's with faith. You hear knowledge. You hear just like on Tuesday, I'm scheduled to get on an airplane. Southwest Airlines, St. Louis to Midway, Chicago. And if I want to know if the flight's going to be on time, there's a shabda. There's a sound vibration source I can ask. Southwest Airlines. I can't ask the grocery store attendant or the gas station attendant, is the flight on time? Because they don't know. They can tell me how to find out, but they can't tell me if it's on time. But so there's an authority that knows different things in this world, and there's authority knows things of this world and beyond this world. That's the Vedas. And the scriptures they're called revealed scripture. They reveal things that you don't know. That like what existed before you existed. And that's like this verse that's on the screen. Krishna, he knows because through his agency, his empowered avatar, Vedavyas, he compiled the Vedas and he compiled the Vedanta. And I'm the knower of the Vedas. So I know what the purpose of the Vedas is. The purpose is to know me. Aham. That's the purpose of the Vedas. So this all of what I'm doing right now is kind of an introduction to Canto 10 of Srimad Bhagavatam, because the subject can be a little bit abstract if you don't know, like, what's all this about anyways? So, what are the question? In addition to hearing about Krishna through Bhagavad Gita or from Srimad Bhagavatam, where Krishna performs pastimes, what's the reason? Because God is of the spiritual atmosphere, spiritual realm, Vaikuntha realm, Goloka realm. He's in that beyond this material realm, and from time to time he advents himself, Srijam Yaham. Srijami. He manifests himself. And what are the reasons why Krishna manifests himself? Well, you all that you completed chapter 9 or in chapter 9, it's discussed in chapter 8. Let's say the verse together. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha duskritam dharma sangsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So Krishna, in its 4th chapter, as he explains, he gives here 3 reasons why he comes. In the first, Pritranaya sadhunam, those who are sadhus, he protects them. He delivers them from difficulty. And the difficulty comes from the duskritis. In Vinash, he subdues the duskritis, the impious. And then he brings the balance, the scale, the dharma scale, dharma sangstha. He restores dharma, samstha. And so sambhavami yuge yuge, he comes himself. To deliver the pious, 1. To annihilate the miscreants, 2. As well as to reestablish the principles of dharma, 3. I myself appear, millennium after millennium. Now those 3 reasons why Krishna comes. Is he restricted? He's unrestricted. He's ajita. He can't be conquered by anything. He makes rules and he conforms to those rules and he goes beyond those rules because he's the supreme. So there's a... Where is she? Oh, yeah. Another one of our 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan is Rupa Goswami. I'm not picking on you, just like this is giving you an education, a spiritual education. It's not picking on you. So Rupa, in an earlier class at her home, one of the things we discussed is that the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself in the role of a devotee of Krishna. That's the whole story of how that came to be. But he had followers that followed his teachings. He gave them teachings and they wrote those teachings. One of those was Rupa Goswami. Explicitly, Rupa Goswami was trained thoroughly in the science of bhakti. And he was empowered to understand everything of those teachings. He was empowered to understand everything and to write books on what he has understood. Two empowerments from Lord Chaitanya, from Krishna himself, who was teaching about devotional service. He did it through the instrument of Rupa Goswami. He did a fantastic job too. Whew. So one of Rupa Goswami's books was, the Sanskrit title is Bhakti Rasa Amrita Sindhu. Sindhu, you know, it means ocean. An ocean of not just bhakti, but bhakti rasa. Bhakti rasa amrita. Bhakti rasa amrita sindhu. The ocean of the nectar devotion. The ocean of the nectar devotion. So, explaining all there is about bhakti. And one of the sections in that book is revealing the qualities of Krishna. Now, before coming here to St. Louis, I was in Chicago. I'm going back to Chicago because we're going to have a Festival of the Holy Name. It's a nice event. It's an annual event. But over the 4th of July weekend, for a whole weekend of the 4th of July holiday, we're going to be focusing on the chanting of the Holy Name and how to do so effectively. I understand some of you now have some beads. Of course, many of us have had beads for some time. I've had these beads for 55 years, so they're well-worn, well-used beads. Every day, chanting on beads, every day. It's become, my understanding is, I don't have direct experience, but I've seen photos of people that attend yoga classes, and along with hatha yoga and sometimes pranayama, they also learn mantra meditation, because meditation goes well with yoga. Meditation and yoga. It's become a bit of a buzz. It's popular. Mantra meditation is part of that meditation process. So many people have beads. So we're going to be having a whole festival of chanting the holy name next weekend, 4th of July holiday in Chicago suburbs. So Rupa Goswami taught about chanting, but also the whole of the bhakti process, and through the bhakti process to reveal more details about the subject of the Vedas, which is Krishna. Vedaishta Sayarvairaham Eva Vedyo. We just heard that verse from Bhagavad Gita. The purpose of the Vedas is to know Krishna. And to know Krishna, that's what we're going to be doing this evening when I stop all this introductory thing. So in this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or Nectar devotion, there's a section that's describing Krishna's qualities. They're unlimited, yeah. Before coming here, I was in Naperville, suburb of Chicago, and we discussed chapter 14. You remember from the very beginning. We're going to be discussing, during this visit, I'm discussing chapter 12. The pastime of Krishna addressing one of the demons that was sent by Kamsa to kill him. But that was the Pritranaya Sadhunam, Vinashaya Chaduskatam. He's protecting the devotees and finishing the demoniac elements, the duskriti elements in this world. That's one of the reasons for Krishna's appearance. But when he appears and does things, this is one of the qualities of Krishna on the screen. It's clever. And the translation of what Rupa Goswami has written is, a person who can perform various types of work at once is called clever. And it's not multitasking. In this world, multitasking is something people think it's good to be able to multitask, because you got a lot to do. You're busy, so you do multiple things at one time. It's not multitasking. Krishna wasn't a multitasker. He was doing one thing, and while doing that one thing, simultaneously multiple things were being achieved. So I'll say it again. This cleverness is, while one purpose is being pursued or achieved or accomplished, simultaneously multiple things are being achieved or pursued or accomplished. I'm mentioning it because it's within the pastime we're about to discuss, chapter 12. Many things, multiple things, all at once. And that has to do with Krishna's cleverness. Here's what Rupa Goswami writes. For example, one of the gopis said, "My dear friends, just see the clever activities of Sri Krishna. He has composed nice songs about the cowherd boys and is pleasing the cows. By the movement of his eyes, he is pleasing the gopis, and at the same time, he is fighting with demons like Arishtasura. In this way, he is sitting with different living entities in different ways, and he is thoroughly enjoying the situation." Multiple things. It moves seamlessly from one thing to the next thing. Even while he's apparently doing this thing, he's simultaneously doing that thing. Because there's different living entities that have different relationships with Krishna, or rasa. And that's Bhakti Rasa Amrita Sindhu. So what does that word rasa derive from? It's derived from the Upanishads. Taittiriya Upanishad makes this statement. It's very simple, very cryptic. Rasavai saha. There's a little bit further in that particular passage, but saha is a pronoun. It means it or he. And vai means certainly. So rasa Raso vai saha. The absolute truth, the saha, that's it, the absolute truth, or he, is rasa. So when Krishna comes, he's engaged, he's exchanging rasa with is one of the purposes in his coming. In this world there are devotees of Krishna, and sometimes, from time to sambhavami yuge, he appears to reciprocate loving dealings. He stimulates their love, and they bring happiness to him. Although he is the abode of all rasa, it's love. Supposing you love someone. In this world, people have some ideas of being attached to someone, they call it love. And one of the essence of that relationship of love is there's an exchange, back and forth exchange between lover and beloved. The Sanskrit terminology is ashraya and vishaya. Vishaya means the object. So Krishna is the object of the ashraya, the abode of love, towards Krishna, who is the vishaya, the object of their love. But from Krishna's perspective, it's reciprocal. He loves them and they love him. And there's nothing else between them except that loving exchange. And then many, 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 many interesting activities take place that can be looked at through the lens of rasa. And that's what Rupa Goswami does, primarily. He sees Krishna's activities in Vrindavan as very sweet. The Sanskrit phrase that's used is madhurya. There's a sweetness in Krishna's childhood pastime. We're going to hear about the sweetness as soon as I go into chapter 12. This is all warm-up. A little backdrop so that on the stage, when you see the drama of Krishna performing his pastimes in Vrindavan, you have an understanding. He's exchanging rasa with different living entities. And some of them are the duskritis, like the demon that has been sent by Kamsa to kill Krishna. His name is Aghasura. So I'm going to skip this slide and go on to the next one. Yeah. Here's from chapter 14. We're just going to be discussing chapter 12. Any person who hears or chants these pastimes Lord Murari performed with his cowherd friends, killing of Aghasura, taking lunch on the forest grass, the Lord's manifestation of transcendental forms, and the wonderful prayers offered by Lord Brahma, is sure to achieve all his spiritual desires. Now that's a verse, that's a prayer offered by Lord Brahma after chapter 12, chapter 13, and now well into towards the very end of chapter 14. There's 60 verses in chapter 14. This is the last verse of chapter 14. And a very similar teaching, almost the same teaching, is from another text that says, these descriptions of Lord Krishna's pastimes with his cowherd boys, his eating with them on the bank of the Yamuna, and Lord Brahma's prayers unto him are all transcendental subject matters. Transcendental means beyond matter, into the realm of spirit. These are transcendental matters or transcendental pastimes. Anyone who hears, recites, or chants them surely gets all his spiritual desires fulfilled. No, material desires may also become fulfilled, but for sure, spiritual desires will become fulfilled. So whatever spiritual desires you have, we all have some, because we're spirit souls, and just hear these nice pastimes. And in some cases we'll understand, some cases we won't exactly understand it, that's okay. It's purifying. It's a process of purification just to hear. And there's a recording of a nice devotee who is going to sing for us. There's a recording. You see a little horn at the bottom. Embedded in this slide is her singing. She'll sing each phrase twice. When you hear it, you can see it on the screen. When she says it the second time, or sings it the second time, you can sing along if you like to sing along. And hopefully technology is going to work.
Prachinaanam bhajanam atulam dushkaram shrinvato me.
Yes, we're here.
Prachinaanam bhajanam atulam dushkaram shrinvato me. Nairyasena jwalati hrudayam bhaktileshalasasya. Nairyasena jwalati hrudayam bhaktileshalasasya. Vishwadrichim agaharam tava karnya karunya vichim. Vishwadrichim agaharam tava karnya karunya vichim. Asha bindukshitam idam upetyantare hanta saityam. Asha bindukshitam idam upetyantare hanta saityam.
Technology is beyond my pay grade. And each time I have done something like this, I don't know if it's going to come from that speaker, it's going to come from that speaker, it's going to come from this speaker. And it's nice. So let me do it again, with your permission. Yes, I see. Thank you.
Prachinaanam bhajanam atulam dushkaram shrinvato me. Prachinaanam bhajanam atulam dushkaram shrinvato me. Nairyasena jwalati hrudayam bhaktileshalasasya. Nairyasena jwalati hrudayam bhaktileshalasasya. Vishwadrichim agaharam tava karnya karunya vichim. Vishwadrichim agaharam tava karnya karunya vichim. Asha bindukshitam idam upetyantare hanta saityam. Asha bindukshitam idam upetyantare hanta saityam.
As you see in the lower left, this is one of Rupa Goswami's writings. He gathered a series of prayers and called the book Stava Mala, a garland of prayers. And there's two parts. The first part is humility, and the second part is hope. Hope in receiving mercy. So the humility part is natural for anyone who's an elevated personality like Rupa Goswami. I am very weak and lazy to do even the smallest devotional service. And so when I hear of the peerless and difficult to perform services performed by the great devotees in ancient times, my heart burns with despair. I'm unqualified. I can't be with them or like them. I'm too fallen. It's an expression of humility. It's what he's feeling. And then comes the hope. Oh Lord, O killer of Aghasura, because that's chapter 12. When I hear that your waves of mercy splash everyone, from the demigod Brahma down to the most insignificant creature, then my heart becomes sprinkled with a cooling drop of hope. As waves of mercy come crashing down and splash all over the place, and a little drop may land on me. So now I have a little hope. It's not my qualification, it's the mercy. That is the unlimited descending mercy of the Lord and his pastimes and his exchanges of love. Is rasa vaisaha, manifestation. Very nice. And another, we learned this yesterday, 2 days ago at your home. This is another one of the 6 Goswamis. His name is Raghunath Das Goswami. And he is a lover of Krishna, but specifically he's a lover of Vrindavan and Govardhan Hill and Radha Kund at Vrindavan. He loves Radharani very much. He loves Govardhan Hill very much. And he has written this particular prayer in his Stavamala. May very dear and fragrant Radha Kund, where Krishna, the enemy of Agha, yearning to attain the merciful sidelong glance of Sri Radha, eagerly and diligently bathes and renders service, be my shelter. It's poetic, and it's his heart's expression. He's a very, very elevated heart, a very elevated Vaishnava, Raghunath Das Goswami, as the other Goswamis were as well. So now we're about to begin the first few verses of chapter 14, Canto 10, the story of Krishna's dealing with Aghasura. This is Shukadeva Goswami speaking. And he's speaking to King Parikshit. You know, the setting, King Parikshit, some mishap happened. He was misunderstood and these things happened. He was cursed to die in 7 days. And he accepted the curse from a little boy, and he gave his kingdom over to his son, Janamejaya, and he took off his royal robes and ornaments and so forth and just took on a mendicant's attire, went to the bank of the Ganges, sat down and invited all the sages in his kingdom to come and be with him and advise him what to do at the time of death. And who would come along but Shukadeva Goswami, right at the right time. And immediately, King Parikshit, he was a very elevated devotee of Krishna, and he recognized another very elevated devotee of Krishna, so he submitted to Shukadeva Goswami and asked him to instruct him. What should I do? I have 7 days. How am I supposed to prepare myself in 7 days, knowing that I'm going to die in 7 days? So the answer given is, you hear about Krishna. And then he proceeded to describe Krishna. This is one of his descriptions to the king, Parikshit. One day, the age of Krishna for this pastime is 4 years, 4 months old. Think of some little boy that's that old. And what the little boys like to do. They like to play. Nothing wrong. They like to play. Playful boys like to play. And when little boys get together, boy, do they can play and play and play until the cows come home. They play. So, in this particular day, Krishna had a plan. And the plan was different than all the other days. That is, all the other days, Mother Yasoda, motherly affection, she'd wake Krishna up and bring Krishna to take his bath. And Krishna would take his bath, and then she'd dress Krishna after his bath and apply tilak and prepare breakfast, and he'd have breakfast, and she was being Mother Yasoda to her little darling 4-year-old son with transcendental motherly affection. But this particular morning was a little different. he asked his mother, this morning, instead of having you preparing breakfast at home, can you prepare lunch in a little lunch bag and I can take it with me? We have breakfast and out in the picnic out in the forest. A little reluctant, but she agreed. Because she loved Krishna, so she liked doing what he wanted. So he had picnic. It's important in the pastime because they hadn't had breakfast. Little boys going out to play that didn't have breakfast. But they're going to do a little later because it was Krishna's plan. And then a second thing happened was that Balaram wasn't there. It's part of the plan, part of Krishna's pastime plan. Different acharyas give different reasons why Balaram wasn't there. One says it was his birthday. Another says there was some relative from out of town and he wanted to see Balaram, so Balaram had to stay back. Because Balaram was the son of Rohini. And Rohini, she has some relatives different than the relatives of Yashoda and Nanda. Anyway. So Balaram didn't go, and it's no breakfast. Having risen early in the morning, he blew his bugle made of horn, buffalo horn, boo, no, in this kind of conch shells. And with Krishna, it's buffalo horn. Boo, he blew his buffalo horn. And it was a sign to the other boys, time to go. And woke up all the cowherd boys and calves with its beautiful sound. Then Krishna and the boys, keeping their respective groups of calves before them, proceeded from Brajabhumi to the forest. It was calves because Krishna had a fascination. He loved the cows. And he asked his father, could he take care of the cows? And his father said, no, the cows are too big and you're so small. Just 4 years old. But he persisted, you know how children can be sometimes. And all right, you can take care of the calves. So there's a big festival. In a family affair that takes care of calves, the son's going to start up the activities of the father. There's a festival. So they had a big festival. Now comes some commentary. Only Krishna's name is mentioned, indicating that Rohini by force kept Balaram at home in order to bathe him and perform auspicious rites on his birthday. That's VCT, and means Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, another of our acharyas. And here's another explanation. This is from Gopal Champu. One time, waking up early in the morning, the brother of Balaram, the sole protector of the universe, developed a desire by chance. Today we should have a morning meal in the forest. Finishing his morning duties, he asked his mother to allow this. Pleasing his mother by his actions, he went out with her permission, and with the sound of his buffalo horn, he woke up his friends and Balaram. Now, on this illustration, you see two fellows on either side. It's a format of questions and answers. These are two elevated persons of Vrindavan narrating Krishna's pastimes. And one of them is asking questions, Snigdhakanta, and the other one is giving answers, Madhukanta. So Gopal Champu is a dialogue between these two, and in the course of the dialogue, it's a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam in a certain style, a Champu style. Here's more. Going quickly and sitting at the crossroads, waiting for his friends for a few moments, he looked around. This Gopal Champu is one of the several commentaries by Jiva Goswami. Though Balaram desired to go, on hearing the sound of the horn, and had heard of the plans from Krishna, his mother made him perform ceremonies for safety at home on instructions of astrologers. This was the main reason for him not being present there. So this is a different explanation. Our acharyas can have different explanations, that's okay. And in this case, it's the explanation that his mother had desire from, based upon astrological indications, some ceremonies for safety and protection. So Rohini wanted that, and so Balaram couldn't go. The servant related the message spoken by Balaram. Oh, my brother Krishna, though I want to play with you, something has suddenly come up to prevent me. Balaram continued, this is a different reason. My uncle of the Puru dynasty has come to see me on some surprise business. He remains here, fixed like a tree in the room. I know that you got up early with a special desire. Please fulfill your desires for pastimes. If some obstacle arises at the beginning of a new activity, it will prevent the action from bearing fruit. So I won't be an obstacle. I'll let you do. You have a plan? You have a Leela plan? That's fine. I won't interfere. Have a nice time today out in the forest with the cowherd boys. That's Jiva Goswami in his Gopal Champa. You see from time to time we'll have different commentators. In a separate text, Vaishnava Toshani Tika, this is Jiva Goswami's commentary on the 10th canto, another explanation. The influence of the Leela Shakti to produce Balaram's absence in the pastimes was secondary, since Krishna's main reason for going was the picnic, whereas the killing of Aghasura and Brahma's bewilderment was incidental. Now this is our Acharya, Jiva Goswami, one of the 6 Goswamis, giving us an explanation of, in the background, what's going on. Because the Leela is an enactment of, as he's saying here in this commentary, it's Leela Shakti. What's Leela Shakti? It's an energy of Krishna's yoga maya potency by which Leela Shakti facilitates Krishna's desires. He wants to engage in rasa, exchanges of love and emotions with his eternal associates. And so Leela Shakti makes the arrangements. The Leela Shakti made the arrangement that Balaram wasn't there, and he wanted to have a picnic with his friends, which happened, and then some things happened in chapter 13 when that picnic took place. But there's some pastime that comes before the picnic pastime. That's chapter 12. Here's again Vishwanath Chakravarti. This was the first time Krishna desired to do this, that's eating breakfast in the forest. Previously it was mentioned that he took breakfast and went to the forest. In this verse it says, quote, one day he desired to eat in the forest. That's the verse. After taking off his night clothing, washing his face and dressing in attractive clothing, he quickly rose to his feet, left the house, and woke up the other boys. And here's again Jiva Goswami. The excellence of Krishna's manifested pastimes in Vrindavan are of many types. Some show excellence of Aishwarya. What's Aishwarya mean? Aishwarya means opulence or majesty. And it's on one side, in Vrindavan, often the pastimes are Madhurya, not Aishwarya. Aishwarya is primarily manifest in Dwarka. And Madhurya is primarily manifest in Vrindavan. But sometimes in Vrindavan, he sometimes manifests Aishwarya, like lifting of Govardhan Hill. Or, as the painting is showing, in the pastime that comes later in chapter 13, Krishna showed Aishwarya. He showed Lord Brahma that he is the Lord of millions of universes and the form of rasa, of eternity, knowledge, and infinite bliss. So some of Krishna's pastimes are manifesting opulence or majesty or munificence. Some show compassion. For example, Krishna giving Putana the position of a nurse. That's what the painting is. And the background, that's Putana, the demon feature behind the curtain. But when Putana came, she came in a disguised form. The disguised form was as a looking like the goddess of fortune in beauty and in opulence, and she had some abilities to change shape. But Krishna, knowing full well her intention was wicked, still he gave her the position of nurse. What does that mean? When Putana was killed, according to the Bhagavatam itself, the soul of Putana didn't just go to another body on earth. The soul of Putana went to Goloka Vrindavan. I'm raising my hand in the air. She went to Goloka Vrindavan and became an assistant of Mother Yashoda eternally in Goloka as an assistant of Mother Yashoda. That's called compassion or karuna rasa. And some other pastimes show sweetness. We're going to see some of the sweetness. Here's this description of Putana and the mercy, the compassion that Krishna showed to her. This is a very celebrated verse. The starting is Aho Makiyam Stana Kalakutam. It's celebrated verse. It's in chapter 3, which is going to be Canto 3. It's spoken by Uddhava. Now, some of you are a little newer. Who's Uddhava? And, one way to explain who is Uddhava, you all know who is Arjuna, because he's the receiver of the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. He's Krishna's cousin. Krishna's cousin. Because the mother of Arjuna was who? Kunti. And Kunti and Krishna's father, Vasudeva, they're brother and sister. So brother and sister, two sons, they're cousins. And Uddhava was also a cousin. How? Vasudeva had a brother. Vasudeva's brother's name, he had many brothers. One of his brother's name was Devabhaga, and Devabhaga had a son whose name was Uddhava. So they're cousins. But like Arjuna, there's not only a cousin, but he's a devotee of Krishna. He's such a devotee. Uddhava was such a devotee of Krishna that from the time that Krishna left Vrindavan, when he was a little bit, he was just shy, almost 11 years of age. And Krishna stayed on the earth planet for 125 years. And the rest of those years, except for the first 11, Uddhava was constant companion. Constant companion with Krishna means he knew Krishna. He knew inside and outside. He was intimate associate of Krishna throughout. And when Krishna was going to depart and end his pastimes, Uddhava sensed it. Krishna didn't say. Krishna didn't become morose. But he could sense it. So he came to Krishna in Dwarka. There's a wonderful section the 11th Canto Bhagavatam, Uddhava comes to Krishna in Dwarka. Take me with you. I know that you're going to leave. And he's crying. He's holding on to Krishna's feet. They're cousins, but Krishna is the Supreme, and he's the servant of the Supreme. And you're going to leave, and you're my life and soul. Please take me with you. So Krishna then gives him instructions called Uddhava Gita. Very similar to Bhagavad Gita. Krishna speaking to Arjuna, Krishna speaking to Uddhava. Two cousins. Intimate, very intimate. As Bhagavad Gita is well known, within Srimad Bhagavatam, Uddhava Gita is also well known. And then Krishna left. There's some further detail, but before Krishna left, he said, when I came into this world, I wanted to give my association to my devotees. There's one place I didn't get to go, and that's to Badrinath. And those of you that know your geography, Badrinath is way, way up in the Himalayas. It's not just in the Himalayas, it's way up in the Himalayas. We visited Badrinath. Next year at Kartik time, we're also going to visit Badrinath from Vrindavan. So I didn't go to Badrinath. Narayan Rishi and all their devotees in their ashram are there. So on my behalf, you carry my message to them. So he didn't want to do it. He wanted to be with Krishna, but Krishna gave him some service. So with deep sadness in his heart, he left, just to carry out Krishna's order. And he hadn't made it all the way. At that particular time, on his way to Badrinath, he happened to pass through Vrindavan. And he was in one of the forests of Vrindavan, meditating on his beloved, Krishna. The beloved means the object of love. From the abode of love, that's Uddhava. Something very amazing happened. He saw Vidura. And you all know who is Vidura. The three brothers, Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidura. So Vidura, at this time, at just a crossroads, he's on pilgrimage because he was insulted by Duryodhana, and he just left the royal assembly. Before the Kurukshetra battle happened, he just left and went to purify himself from being in that contaminating association with Duryodhana and all of his skullduggery. He just left for purification purposes. And he was all the way, he had gone the southerly direction, now he's going back in the northerly direction, and he came through Vrindavan, and who did he find in a forest of Vrindavan? But Uddhava. And when you see Uddhava, you think of Krishna because you're so intimately associated, and they even looked alike. They had same bodily complexion, and Uddhava, how nice to see you here. And then he started asking about Krishna. When you see Uddhava, you ask about Krishna. How's this one? How's that one? How's Ugrasena? How's Balaram? How's everybody in Dwarka? Uddhava was silent. He knew, but he didn't want to say. Vidura also knew because he had passed through what's the place where they all had that fratricidal war? Prabhas. He knew that they had... Anyway, so both of them knew, but they didn't want to say. Uddhava was silent. He went into trance. Vidura hit his Krishna button. He just went. He went externally, detached himself from the world, and went internally with Krishna. But Vidura is his uncle by royal family relation, and his elder. So he wants to serve Uddhava, wants to serve Vidura. So he struggled and came to external consciousness. And this verse on the screen is the first thing he said. Celebrated verse, well-known verse. And he's expressing the degree of compassion of Krishna, that he gave Putana the position of nurse in the spiritual world. Even she came with evil intention, wanted to kill him. Oh, evil Putana, who offered her poisonous breast to Krishna to drink with the intention of killing him, attained the position of a nurse as Ambika Kalimba. That was the name of the nurse in Goloka. In the spiritual world, who else is so merciful? I surrender to him. So notice in the Sanskrit, the word is Baki. She's called Baki because she had a brother whose name was Baka. The feminine is Baki, the sister of Baka. So Bakasura, that's chapter 11, and Baki, or Putana, their brother and sister. And Agha, who is chapter 12, he's their younger brother of the two brother and sister. That's chapter 12. That's what we're going to be discussing. So sometimes Krishna comes and shows his compassion. Sometimes Krishna comes and shows his Aishvarya. Sometimes Krishna comes and shows his sweetness. Like in chapter 8, Krishna's crawling. Here's a verse from chapter 8. When Krishna and Balaram, with the strength of their legs, crawled in the muddy places created in Braja by cow dung and cow urine, their crawling resembled the crawling of serpents, and the sound of their ankle bells was very charming. Very much pleased by the sound of other people's ankle bells, they used to follow these people as if going to their mothers. But when they saw that these were other people, they became afraid and returned to their real mothers, Yashoda and Rohini. This is part of the sweetness of his childhood pastimes, or Krishna's stealing butter, also in chapter 8 of Canto 10. This is commentary giving a picture of Krishna revealing different rasas, because he's Raso Vaisaha. Here's a nice verse. This is from Rupa Goswami, his collection of prayers or glorifications of Krishna called Padyavali. As child Hari was stealing butter, he noticed his own reflection in a nearby jeweled column. Thinking this to be another boy, he became frightened and begged, "My dear friend, you are my friend. I will share the butter with you. Please don't tell me. Don't tell on me. Don't tell on me." May child Krishna, child Hari, protect you all. A childhood sweetness. Or, along with stealing the butter, he would feed the monkeys. And here's a verse from Canto 10, chapter 8. Krishna's feeding the monkeys. Our dear friend Yashoda, your son, this is the elder gopis coming and complaining, your son sometimes comes to our houses before the milking of the cows and releases the calves. And when the master of the house becomes angry, your son merely smiles. Sometimes he devises some process by which he steals the palatable curd, butter, and milk, which he then eats and drinks. When the monkeys assemble, he divides it with them. And when the monkeys have their bellies so full that they won't take more, he breaks the pots. Now this is in the category of sweetness. There's another, many other pastimes. Krishna is desiring to have breakfast in the forest. That's this chapter. So sweetness is one of the features of his pastimes. Aishvarya is another. Compassion is another. So many features to his pastimes. And each of those features, going back to the theme that we said before we began chapter 12, is rasa. Krishna comes to exchange rasa with different devotees at different times, in different ways, and stimulate their love for him. And he experiences happiness as their love for him is stimulated in various ways. So it's an exchange of love. That's Krishna's childhood pastimes. At that time, hundreds and thousands of cowherd boys came out from their respective homes in Vrajabhumi and joined Krishna, and keeping before them their hundreds and thousands of groups of calves. That's a lot. That's a lot of boys and that's a lot of calves. But Vrindavan is a special place. The boys were very beautiful, and they were equipped with lunch bags, bugles, flutes, and sticks for controlling the calves. Tens of thousands of cowherd boys. That's a lot. Krishna had asankhya calves. Sankhya means to count, like Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya Yoga. And then you put the prefix a in front, so it's asankhya, means too many to count. There's some number, some finite number, but too many to count. So asankhya-taha, that many calves. The boys and calves together could not be counted. The area of Vrindavan is 16 kroshas, or 2 miles, is for each krosha, times 2, that's 16 times 2. Who's our mathematician? 16 times 2 is 32, right? 16 times 2. So how are you going to fit all that? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is explaining the inconceivable nature of Krishna's powers. So we'll step back. Please send me, after class, you send me a little text message, and I'll send you, as a reminder, and I'll send you a little document that describes the unlimitedness of Vrindavan and Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. It's like a PDF file. And not only in Vrindavan, in Mathura and in Dwarka. And it seems like it's like an exaggeration, because how can it be? But the nature of this document says it has to do with one of the qualities of Krishna that comes in chapter 14, that the potencies of Krishna are without limit. The potencies of a particle of dust within Vrindavan is without limit. What to speak of all the particles of dust, what to speak of the whole of Vrindavan. There is such a thing that you can measure something materially, but that which is spiritual, it has a potency that's beyond the material measurement. And the reasoning goes like this. If God was not like that, then he wouldn't be God. God has to fit into my little binary processor, the mind. And if he doesn't, then it's just fiction. But God is not restricted. He's not confined. There's no boundaries or limits to he who is unlimited. His potencies are unlimited. His qualities are unlimited. He's unlimited. His dham is unlimited. Everything is... And the prayers of Brahma, who built the universe and understands, what building a universe is like. You can maybe build a Tesla or a computer or a spaceship or something, but to build the universe, how much intelligence does that take? How much capacity does that take? Down to like mosquitoes and that reproduce themselves, and microbes and galaxies, and micro and macro, and the intelligence to build all of it. And he makes in his prayers, chapter 14, it's uncountable, it's inconceivable. The limit, you're limitless. So that's part of the message that's built into chapter 12. How many cowherd boys, how many calves, The Dham is unlimited. Even a small portion of the holy Dham is sufficient to accommodate billions of universes, each measuring 50 million miles in diameter. So this document will help explain. Here's some Sanskrit. 1 billion gopis, 1 billion, that's a lot, gathered at the place of the rasa dance. Such places exist by the inconceivable power of the Lord. Now, Vrindavan's not big enough to fit 1 billion anythings. But because it's Vrindavan, it's without limits. The expansion of the unlimited is unlimited. There's no questions. Jiva Goswami quotes a book by his uncle. One of his uncles of Jiva Goswami was Sanatan Goswami, who wrote a book, another commentary on the Bhagavatam called Brihat Bhagavatamrita. There's no question of impediments, obstacles, or limitations because the Lord, His associates, and His holy Dham have inconceivable powers, Achintya Shakti. Now, it's just a passing comment on how many cowherd boys assembled, but you can see how our acharyas are taking the topic and churning the topic and helping us to understand the nature of Krishna, because the purpose of the Vedas is to understand Krishna. That we learned from chapter 4, text number, 1515, Bhagavad Gita. And look at this, we got as far as text 3. Along with the cowherd boys and their own groups of calves, Krishna came out with an unlimited number of calves assembled. Then all the boys began to sport in the forest in a greatly playful spirit. So here's this word asankyata again. Asankyata. Krishna had a string of jewels, and on those jewels he counts the cows or the calves. He calls out the names of the leaders, calling on his flute. He counts the groups of cows using different colored beads. Of course, this is calves, not cows. Though the number of cows is unlimited, he counts the group leaders, or he shows his skill by counting them all, for the Lord is more intelligent than most intelligent. Vishwanath commenting on this third verse. Prabhupada's comment. Such unlimited numbers are indicated here by the word asankyataha, asankyatai. Krishna is unlimited, his potency is unlimited, his cows and calves are unlimited, and his space is unlimited. Now supposing I'm uncomfortable with that. I think that's an exaggeration. There's a Sanskrit word for exaggeration. So my faith is shaken because how can you have something that's unlimited? The flip side is, you want to limit the unlimited? Because that which is the source of everything, the absolute truth is the source of everything. Is there a limit? There's no limit by principle. So when you start detailing there's no limit, well, wait a minute. I think that's an exaggeration. If we study Krishna's potency with our limited knowledge, that potency would never be possible to understand. It's same as in the introductory part that I spoke. There are 3 ways of knowing things: pramana, sense perception, reason and logic, and shabda. So according to shabda, it's a sankyata. According to reason and logic, really? And according to sense perception, I don't perceive anything that's unlimited. But we don't perceive anything that's unlimited because we can only perceive the limited. And even that is fallible perception. And our understanding of what it is that we perceived is limited and fallible. So what to speak of the unlimited? Is there such a thing? That's a good question. Is there such a thing as the source of everything? Like, where did it all come from? Where did we come from? Where did everything come from? What's the source of everything? That's a philosophical question. And if you're a philosopher, you'll have this philosophy, that philosophy, the other. That's the reasoning logic method. You never can reach a conclusion because somebody else will come along with another idea and then another idea. And the history of philosophies of the world have been going on and they're still going on. Is there no such thing as, if there is such a thing as the source of everything, that's an if, it's unlimited. That source of everything is unlimited. So when you describe that which comes from the unlimited, don't limit it. Most of us are here probably because we share something in common. There are some differences amongst all of us, for sure. But one of the things that we most likely share is we have faith that there's a reality beyond stuff. What it is exactly, we may not know. We may have an idea, we may not have an idea. But there's some faith that there's a reality beyond the temporary, whatever that is. So how are you going to know what that is? That's the starting point of this evening discussion. How do you know what is the source of everything? The answer is by revelation. That which is the source of everything can reveal, I'm the source of everything. 15:15 Bhagavad Gita. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sarvam pravartate. Iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. It's very simple. And then you take the simple and apply it and you go, wait a minute, how's that possible? The unlimited, really? Shabda. Aparusheya Shabda. Aparusheya Shabda Praman. That's the means of knowing that which lies beyond our sense perception and our capacity for reason and logic. There's a nice verse, again, Rupa Goswami. Let's say the verse together. Many of us know this verse. Atak Shri Krishna Namadi Na Bhaved Grayam Indriyai Sevan Mukhihi Jivadao Svayameva Sparatyada. Therefore, material senses cannot appreciate Krishna's holy name, form, qualities, and pastimes. When a conditioned soul is awakened to Krishna consciousness and renders service by using his tongue, jivadao, beginning with the tongue, to chant the Lord's holy name and taste the remnants of the Lord's food, the tongue is purified and one gradually comes to understand who Krishna really is. The medium of understanding Krishna is bhakti. This is from the same Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and it's what we do. We engage the tongue, and by engaging the tongue in service to Krishna, we're engaging, starting with the tongue, the rest of the senses. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchate. It's another scriptural reference where it explains what is, by definition, what's bhakti. It's engaging the senses, rishikas, in the service of the master of the senses, Rishikesha is served by the rishikas. The master of the senses is served by engaging the senses in the service of the master of the senses. And that's bhakti, for the pleasure of Rishikesh, the master of the senses. That's bhakti. It's very simple. Very simple. And if, supposing we say no, then we're going to use our senses for something else. It's about me, not about the master, but about me. And that's ego. Me. And then instead, bhakti is Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Same set of senses, same life, same bodily form, but simply directing things to the master. So you're probably very happy this is the end of the discussion. And tomorrow at the temple, we're going to be discussing part 2. And I'm going to go through the same thing because there'll be a different audience tomorrow at the temple, midday. So we'll go through the kind of introductory thing as I did this evening, so that the audience, the Sunday feast people, can understand what's this all about anyway. So we're going beyond those first 3 verses where the boys are going out to play. But there's a really, really nice verse. Super, super, I like it verse, where Prabhupada is describing, Prabhupada is describing, the narrator, Shukadev Goswami, who's going to be narrating what the cowherd boys did after they went out to take care of the calves. They just played. And they did this, and they did that, and they did the other thing. And they're playing with Krishna. He who is the source of everything, they're playing with him. They're wrestling with him and playing ball and, swimming and climbing trees and, doing things that little boys do with Krishna. Teasing. And Shukadev Goswami goes into trance, describing the good fortune of these cowherd boys. Who can say what qualification they had to become cowherd boys? Krita Punya Punja, that very nice verse. Okay. Bhima, you want to add something to all this? Over here, you over here can't see, but Grandfather Bhishma is over here. Bhima Prabhu. Okay. And I'll serve you too. Try, anyways. And all of you, the servant of the servant of the servant. Any comments or questions? This young man gets the opportunity to carry the microphone around.
Dandavad Maharaj. So one of the questions that I had is Sambhavane Yuge Yuge, where Krishna is coming back for every yuga to save the religion. So is it true to say that he's the master to finish, comes towards the end of every yuga and comes to the start of that yuga and then leaves?
Not exactly. He commonly, the Yuga Dharma comes at the beginning, not at the end. The avatar that brings the Yuga Dharma, so I'm using language I'm not sure everybody in the room here understands. According to the picture of Vedic time, time moves in cycles. So like it's nighttime, and then wait a while, it's going to be daytime. The rising and setting of the sun marks one cycle, a day. And then the movements of the moon mark another cycle of time, that's the month. And then days and months make a cycle of a year. Rather than going on, there's many, many cycles. And one of those big cycles is the 4 yuga cycle. So the 4 are Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. And then it starts back again to Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga. Then it's a cycle again. There's a cycle of 4 yugas. And in those cycle of 4 yugas, there's 1,000 of those cycle of 4 yugas in every day of Brahma. 1,000 yuga cycles in a day. So his question is, in the cycle of time, there's in each yuga, each of those 4 yugas, there's a means of achieving spiritual perfection, yuga dharma. And there's a form of the Lord who comes to establish the yuga dharma. So it's not that yuga dharma representative comes at the end. Commonly, the yuga dharma form of the Lord comes at the beginning to establish for the yuga. The dharma that's meant for that particular yuga, most favorable for that yuga, for achieving spiritual perfection. It's right in Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, in the very beginning of creation, so he made the arrangements for creation, and he simultaneously made the arrangements how to get out of it, how to get out of the entanglement of creation. I sent forth generations of many demigods, and with them the blessing. He gave the Vedas the means of elevation out of the entanglement of material existence at the very beginning of creation. And then, in the very beginning of creation, there's also these cycles of time, the smaller cycles. So, at the beginning of each of the 4 yugas, at the very beginning, commonly, the Yuga avatar comes, the form of the Lord comes, to give the means of achieving perfection for that age. Now, if I understood your question correctly, you want to know, when does that form of the Lord come? He comes generally at the beginning of each yuga, not at the end.
Got it, Prabhu.
Does that answer your question?
Yes. So one of the questions related to the same is, the world at large or the society has to come to a point where it's out completely, where the dharma doesn't exist, and in order to save the religion, that's where Krishna has to transfer into the new yuga. I mean to say, it has to be extremely, extremely tough for an individual to survive.
Yeah, that you're speaking with the end of Kali Yuga. Yep. That's what you're speaking about, yes? Yep. Yes?
Yes.
Yes. So you want to know how to go back to Sat Yuga? That's your question?
Yes.
Okay. Good question. So, I'm looking around the room. A visual, I like visuals. One of the visuals I like is a whirlpool. A whirlpool goes around and around and around, and it goes down and down and down and down and down. That's a whirlpool. Now, how does it go from all the way down to right back up again to Sat Yuga? That's your question. So the answer is, when things become so degraded at the end of Kali Yuga, Vyasadeva, who is in another dimension of time and space, this is one explanation, he descends with the associates that are with him, and they reestablish Satya Yuga. It goes right back up to the top. And it's mode of goodness with next to nil ignorance and passion. And that's how it goes back up again. Then it's Satya Yuga again. And then a little more passion, a little more ignorance, the reactions to whatever degree of passion and ignorance is there, and it gets darker and darker and darker and darker. How's that?
Thanks, Maharaj.
That answers your question?
Yes.
Okay.
I have one more question.
Okay.
So regarding Putana, she tries to commit the sin at the higher level where she is trying to kill the Supreme Godhead. How is it possible that Krishna is giving her the space in Golaka?
Why not? He can do anything he wants.
Yes.
And he's reciprocating with one little thing. Amongst the bad, there was one little thing. What's the one little thing? She came as a disguise in the mood of pretentious mother. And Krishna accepted it and gave her position of mother. How merciful. Who can be so merciful? That was this verse that we said. It's a very important verse. Some of the persons in this audience were with us earlier. And one of the things that we discussed earlier was Gadadhar Pandit, one of the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Again, there's people here that probably don't know who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But one of the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who came to establish the Yuga Dharma, we just discussed the principle, the chanting of the holy name. One of his associates was Gadadhar. And Gadadhar, it was about the same age as Lord Chaitanya, and he was not interested at all in material anything. But one of Gadadhar's friends knew that about him, but wanted him to meet somebody that was hiding his spiritual identity in the guise of becoming a wanton materialist. That person's name, for those of you who are with us, is Pundarik Vijayanidhi. Some of you remember. Pundarik Vijayanidhi, topmost elevated Vaishnav who wanted people not to know he was of that quality. So he dressed himself, he was acting like a materialist. Fine clothes, perfumes, and, cushy chairs, and, materialist. Wine, bottles of liquor, and, stuff like he was a gross materialist. But it wasn't his position at all. So when Mukunda, his friend, brought Gadadhar to meet him, Gadadhar was like, whoa, I don't want anything to do with this person. He's a materialist. He didn't say it, but his body language was like, I'm out of here. So Mukunda, who happened to be a really good singer, he sang that a whole Bhakti verse, the verse spoken by Uddhava, glorifying Krishna's compassionate nature, and just hearing the sound of the verse. Pundarik was a learned fellow, Vaishnava, and he went into a state of ecstasy. He fell off his seat, fell on the ground, and started rolling on the ground in ecstasy. He went into a fit of convulsive ecstasy, just hearing the verse. So it's, the sound vibration, the message is, the sound vibration of Srimad Bhagavatam carries with it potency. We may be very covered. We're not like Pundarik Vijayanidhi or others that are very elevated Vaishnavas. We can just be, ladies and gentlemen, fellows here and there, but not so elevated. But the means to become elevated is through sound. Aparusheya Shabda. Sound that comes from a source that's not fallible, as a human source is fallible. And so hearing what we're embarking on, this just hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam, has that power for elevation, purification. It doesn't matter. You can be whatever. It's okay. And that's one of Brahma's verses, or prayers to Krishna. Stane satak shrutigatam tanavan madobir. Stay in your position. It's okay, whatever that is. Whatever it is. Doesn't matter what your background. You don't have to be born in a certain way or certain something. You have to have a good education or lots of money, or you don't have to have a material qualification. There's no material qualification that can get your way into bhakti. And there's no material deprivation that can bar your entry into bhakti. Anyone is eligible. Just be a spirit soul. That's pretty much all of us. And you're eligible for bhakti. And how do you nourish it? Hear spiritual sound. We're all hearing some kind of sound, so hear spiritual sound. And attend the kirtan, so you're hearing the sound of Krishna's name, or attend the Bhagavad Gita class every other week for the adults, and something every week for the children, and that's that purification. That's the eligibility of a soul going beyond material contamination, the limitations of the mind and the senses, into the transcendental realm through sound. Yes, over here. Raise your hand again because he couldn't see you around the corner.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, another beautiful class with lots of stories and pastimes. The question is, Maharaj, the pastimes that we see, you explained like there are 6 opulences of Krishna and he exhibits all of them in full. The pastimes could be combination of more than one opulence.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I'm asking this question because you referred to Krishna lifting that Govardhan hill. He exhibited his quality of Aishwarya.
Yes,
I was imagining in a different way, so
that's okay.
So it's predominantly Aishwarya.
While he's doing this is the theme. I'm interrupting. Sorry. While doing one thing, he's accomplishing many things. One thing. So the many things is he's protecting the residents of Vrindavan under that hill. He's protecting them. That's one of his features. And he's curbing the pride of Indra. That's another thing he's achieving at the same time. And he's giving subject matter for us to hear so many thousands of years later for purification. He's accomplishing many things through one thing. He's not multitasking. He's just doing multiple things. And then each of the varieties of rasas of the devotees under the hill, they're looking upon Krishna in a different way. And he's fulfilling their desire to see him uninterruptedly, because generally Krishna goes off. And then the elders don't see Krishna till he comes back. The cowherd boys are into so. But this pastime, he's with all of them 24/7 for 7 days. He's fulfilling their desire. It's rasa. And sometimes his arms start to tremble. He's a 7-year-old boy. Just hold your hand up for 7 days. What does speak of hold the hill? Then sometimes his hand would tremble. But that was another stimulation of ecstasy. It's a pastime. The whole thing is many things with one thing. So you're thinking of many things? There are other things besides Aishwarya? Yes.
I thought predominantly his prowess, because he's able to do it.
This particular acharya wanted to point to a particular variegatedness in Krishna's pastimes, and so he chose that. And there's many, many, many additional things at the same time and other pastimes with the same Aishwarya. Mainly, there's Madhurya. But even in the midst of Madhurya, there's Aishwarya, but people, that the Vridvasis don't see the Aishwarya. They just see the Madhurya, because the sweetness eclipses the Aishwarya. When Mother Jasoda looks inside to Krishna's mouth to see if he's eaten dirt, she doesn't find dirt, she finds the whole universe inside his mouth. Not only the whole universe, but she sees herself inside Krishna's mouth, because that's part of the universe. And she feels faint. I better lie down, I'm seeing things. He's showing Aishwarya, but the Madhurya is so intense, she can't see it. Because it's so intense. And that's the main feature of Vrindavan, is sweetness. Although many things are going on at the same time. It's nice. It's part of the wonders of Vrindavan, or Vrajalila. Someone else? Divyananda. Put your hand up, Divyananda. This young boy has a privilege of bringing the microphone all around the place.
In the regard to that, what she was speaking, I was thinking also in the arena of Kamsa, when all the different types of personalities were there in the arena. When they saw Krishna, they had all different rasas that manifested, like the wrestlers, the elderly people thought, he's such a small boy, he's going to get around.
Yeah. Well, again, before I came to St. Louis, I was in Naperville, and we completed chapter 14, the prayers. And there's the original born person in the universe, Brahma, big body, looking at this little 4-year-old boy, saying, "You're my father." And Krishna's saying, "What? I'm the son of Nanda. He's my father. And you're the first created being in the universe. What are you talking about?" And then he gives this argument, or like logical argument. Yes, you are. And he gives us reasons, X, Y, Z. Because Krishna is the source. Aham bija pratak pita. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I'm the pita, I'm the father of all living entities. Aham bija, I'm the seed-giving father of all living entities. And that includes Brahma. So, although the Leela is a 4-year-old boy at that particular stage, he's the source of everything. And he showed that to Brahma. The Bhagavatam is so beautiful. That's why it's Srimad Bhagavatam. Very beautiful. Yes. Question over here. I think we're going to end. You get the final question.
Thank you. Thank you, Guru Maharaj, and Dandvat Pranams. Guru Maharaj, I have one simple question and one maybe different type of question. So first question is
the different type of question going to be on topic?
Yes, on topic.
Okay, good.
So the first question is about the story that you mentioned about the Catholic boy. I just curious to know, like, what was the final discussion about that?
Well, I think, I don't remember exactly, but the mood was think about it. You've heard, consider, think about it.
Yes.
And, and the people around know me, so if you have some further thought, you can ask through the people around here that know me. So, yeah, if you want to pursue, the door is open.
Okay, Guru Maharaj.
But, the expression on his face was anger and challenge. It started and it ended. He didn't get moved. And I wasn't there to convert him. He was there to challenge me. That's okay. It's okay. He said, let him hear something that he can give him something to think about. So think it over.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. And Maharaji, in regards to Uddhav Gita and Bhagavad Gita,
yeah.
So how come like Uddhav Gita is not that much glorified? Yes.
Well, there's different reasons. One of them is Bhagavad Gita is very simple, and the language is very simple. The Sanskrit of Bhagavad Gita is very simple. Simple for the simple. And so it has a universal simplicity to it. And the Bhagavatam language in Uddhava Gita is a little more complex, and it's like the graduate study compared to the undergraduate study. How, in comparison, are there more undergraduate students or more graduate students?
We are undergraduates.
Yeah.
We are
undergraduate students are more common.
Less than that.
Okay. So that's a very simple way of describing the comparison of the two.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
And the intimacy of Uddhava. Arjuna was a Kshatriya, a warrior. I mean, he's part of the caste of Kshatriyas, but he was a warrior amongst Kshatriyas. So his questions were more simple, and Uddhava was much more refined. I mean, for example, Krishna turned to Uddhava on many occasions and asked Uddhava for advice what to do. So that the kind of role that he played, Uddhava played, in Krishna's pastimes and in the royal family. Vasudeva was like that. Vasudeva wasn't a warrior. Vasudeva was like a minister. And he was known for being anakundundubi. He was known for being always truthful. And he gave good advice. And Uddhava was like, so the level of discussion in Uddhava Gita is more refined. It's not, the graduate study doesn't change undergraduate study principles. It's just more refined. So it's more well known and popularized. Naturally so. Appropriately so.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. We're gonna. You're anxious to say something. You're okay? Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. There's one gentleman over here. You get the last question after all. Let me comment something. I'm used to public speaking, and one of the things I do as a public speaker is I notice who's paying attention and who's fidgety, who's restless. You're a very good listener. I'm complimenting you.
Thank you. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you for enlightening. So my question is related to the moksha. How do we achieve moksha? Is it possible for us to actually experience moksha within the human form?
Oh yeah. Let me make it simple. I like it simple. You get to know me, I like it simple. There's details and details, that's nice. But moksha is a subset of bhakti. You come to become a bhakta or a devotee of Krishna. You don't need moksha, it's already there. It's a subset. If you have $1,000, you have $10. You have $100. If you have $1,000. So within bhakti is everything, including moksha.
I think the follow-up question again, I think I had this in the mind when I was trying to ask the first question. So the bhakti, as you said, right? The point of bhakti is when you in the current world we have a more of a logical mindset and a belief system. So these two things coexist. You have a logic always tries to...
When one becomes a devotee, it's not that you put logic in the garbage can. You just delete it from your computer. Mm-hmm. You don't use logic at all. You just become a sentimentalist and directionless sentimentalist. No. Logic is a subset of. Everything is a subset of Mount Everest. The tallest mountain is the tallest mountain. You can cross the other mountains if you have. So, logic for a purpose, a purposeful logic for one who is. Take our acharyas. Let's just take one of them. Because I'm not picking on this one girl, but Jiva Goswami was superlative logician. Superlative logician. He didn't put logic in the garbage can. He used it in a way that brings one to the apex, to the absolute truth in full. So it's used.
Yeah, so bhakti needs the, you need to put this in the garbage, and then you need more of a belief, actually, so to go for bhakti. So how do we inculcate bhakti rasa for somebody who is predominantly of a logical based
Okay,
mindset?
How does the person who's a logician get to bhakti? That's your question? Yes. By associating with one who has bhakti. One, is it right in Bhagavad Gita? One develops qualities like those with whom one associates. Sangat sanjayate kama, kama krodha bhajayate. Bhagavad Gita. We develop qualities like those with whom we associate. Just like, parents are concerned who their son or daughter is associating with. Appropriately, because one rotten apple can spoil a barrel. A good child can become bad by bad association. So parents are concerned. Because you take on qualities like those with whom you associate. So one who's a logician can become a transcendental logician by associating with one who's carrying bhakti. And so associate with those that are carrying bhakti, and especially those that are superlative logician bhaktas, like Jiva Goswami. Associate with them, and you become a transcendental logician. You don't trash it. You become elevated by association. Sadhu Sangha.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay? We're going to end. Thank you all very much. And some of you, many of you, will see you tomorrow. Because tomorrow's